Okay, let's set the scene. Sunday, October 5th, 2025. Think high federal alert, but not like in Hollywood.
No, this is way down south, San Diego County, California, right near the U.S. Mexico international border.
Yeah, it's late afternoon. And right there, amidst all this, federal agents pick someone up.
And it's a face millions would know. Darius McCrary, 49 years old. Eddie Winslow from Family Matters.
Wow.
But yeah, this wasn't just some random stop. He's taken into custody U.S. Border Patrol agents. And the classification, felony fugitive.
That's just startling, isn't it? The guy known for family comedy, arrested at the border on a felony warrant. That's the story we're really digging into today.
Exactly. We've got all these sources you sent over, court records, the legal back and forth, and, the PR spin trying to manage this.
And our goal here is to figure out how a family court issue in Michigan, how does that lead to a federal takedown way over in California?
Right. And the main thing to grasp, really, is that this 2025 arrest, it's not some bolt from the blue. It's more like the culmination of a whole decade of legal issues, financial stuff, a pattern.
Okay, let's dive right into that, starting with how the arrest actually happened. The federal net, let's call it. How does Michigan connect to the Border Patrol?
Okay, so the arrest itself, it really shows you the power of these, national law enforcement databases. He gets booked about 7:40 p.m. that Sunday.
But Border Patrol, why them? It wasn't initially a federal crime, right? Not like smuggling or something?
No, it wasn't. But here's the thing. That felony warrant from Oakland County, Michigan, it got plugged into the national systems, specifically the NCIC.
NCIC, National Crime Information Center.
That's the one. Think of it like a huge digital wanted poster for cops nationwide.
Right.
Once that Michigan judge put the felony warrant in there, boom.
Okay.
Suddenly, every federal agent, Border Patrol, Customs, FBI, whoever, is basically authorized to pick him up if they encounter him. He flagged as a fugitive, state lines. They just vanish for this kind of thing.
Gotcha. So let's break down that warrant, because the legal point here is super important for you listening to understand. It's about child support, right?
Yes, for his daughter Zoey. From his marriage to Tammy Bronner, the former Harlem Globetrotter, the order was $30,366 a month.
Okay, $1,366 a month. Civil matter.
That's the underlying civil part. But here's the twist, and this is crucial. He wasn't arrested for owing the money. I mean, that usually leads to liens, wage garnishment, stuff like that.
Right.
He was arrested because there was a felony charge for failure to appear. He missed a court date about that very dispute.
Ah, so he was ordered by a judge to show up, presumably to explain the arrears, and he didn't.
Exactly. He allegedly ignored a direct court order. And that act, that contempt of court, is what bumps it up from civil to criminal. A felony in this case. Serious enough for an arrest warrant and extradition.
So it's the fugitive status from the court order, not just being a debtor. That's the key.
Precisely. And that's why he ended up being held without bail down in San Diego. He wasn't going anywhere until Michigan could arrange to get him back. NCIC makes non-compliance a nationwide problem.
Okay, so the failure to appear was the legal trigger. But almost immediately, his team started pushing back with a completely different story. Let's talk about that PR narrative.
This is where you see the public narrative clash, head on with the official record. It's fascinating.
Headline for this part, the PR defense. Building homes, COVID, and confusion. His rep, Ann Barlow, went public pretty fast.
First, they rolled out the good deed defense. The story was McCrary was actually at the border for charity.
Charity?
Yeah, supposedly partnering with someone in Tijuana, building homes for the homeless. So, painting him as this philanthropist whose good work got unfairly interrupted.
Okay. And the second part, the missed court date.
That was the unawareness defense. They claimed he just flat out did not know about the warrant.
How could he not know?
Well, the excuse was twofold. One, supposedly the court notice was mailed to a P.O. box, super last minute, only 3 days notice. And two, he supposedly had COVID-19 around that time and only found the notice after the court date had passed.
So the legal strategy there is trying to negate intent, right?
Right.
Argue it wasn't willful failure to appear, it was bad luck, bad mail, bad health.
Exactly. If it wasn't willful, maybe the felony charge doesn't stick as easily. They want the court to see it as just an unfortunate mix-up.
But hang on, COVID aside.
Yeah.
Didn't we just establish he has a history here, prior arrests for non-compliance, and wasn't he on GPS monitoring just last year?
Yes.
How can you possibly claim unawareness credibly with that background? Doesn't the history just blow that defense out of the water?
It makes it incredibly difficult. Absolutely. That history strongly suggests he should have been aware of his obligations and court dates.
Yeah.
But, what really makes this PR story wobble, really collapse, is a massive contradiction they introduced themselves.
Okay, this is where it gets really confusing.
Totally.
All the evidence we have, the court docs, the news reports, the warrant itself, it all points to this being about Tammy Bronner and their daughter, Zoey. That's the Michigan case.
Right. Crystal clear. Yet, his representative told the media something totally different. She claimed the warrant was actually about a dispute with the mother of his older child, his son, Zachariah, who's 18.
Zachariah.
Yeah. And she threw in this detail about him being a supposed trust fund baby, and the mother just wants the money.
But that's a completely different person, a different situation. Why even bring that up? It doesn't match the felony warrant details at all.
It's a head-scratcher, right. It looks like maybe an attempt to muddy the waters, redirect attention from the Bronner case. Because, as we'll get into, the Bronner case involves some really serious allegations beyond just money.
So by offering this conflicting story, they actually undermine their own claim that the missed court date was just an innocent mistake. It makes the whole unawareness thing look even less believable.
Totally. It damages their credibility significantly.
All right, if you're finding this breakdown interesting and maybe a little bit mind-bending, definitely hit that subscribe button. Because this border arrest, it's not a one-off. It's really the latest peek in, like, a decade of legal issues.
Yeah, you absolutely have to see the history to understand the gravity now. The pattern is undeniable. Let's call this segment Nursemaid's Elbow and $52,000 arrears. That gives you a hint of what's involved.
It goes back quite a ways. Didn't he get arrested in Michigan way back in 2015 for child support then, too?
He did. Owed about $5,500, paid it to get released.
Yeah.
Then later that same year, another warrant, this time for not returning his son on time after a visit. That needed a $15,000 bond. So yeah, this isn't new territory for him.
But things really escalated during the divorce from Tammy Bronner, didn't they? Around 2017 to 2019.
Oh, absolutely. That's when things got really contentious. The court ultimately granted Bronner full legal and physical custody, and her filing cited serious concerns about their daughter Zoey's safety.
And some of those concerns detailed in the court documents were pretty alarming. There was an allegation in 2018 about him partially dislocating their daughter's arm.
Yes, diagnosed as nursemaid's elbow, a common injury in young kids, but the allegation was about how it happened.
And even more disturbing, there was another claim mentioned in the filings about him holding the baby over a boiling stove.
That was also cited in the documents, yes. Extremely serious allegations.
Okay, so this moves way beyond just financial disputes. We're talking about significant child safety allegations being formally raised in court. That's heavy context.
It is. Now, McCrary publicly denied those specific incidents, but look at what the court did order after the divorce. It mandated him to complete a whole list of things within a year.
Like what?
Substance abuse classes, batterers intervention programs, and parenting classes. Courts don't typically order that kind of intensive intervention unless they have pretty substantial concerns about the situation and the child's welfare.
Right. That speaks volumes, even with his denials. And yet, even after all that, the noncompliance continued.
Apparently so, which led to another felony arrest just last year, November 2023, again for child support. The arrears by then had apparently climbed over $52,000.
$52,000, wow.
Yeah, he got out on bond that time, but they put him on mandatory GPS monitoring.
So when you lay it all out like that, the prior arrests, these really disturbing allegations, the court-ordered classes, the GPS tracker, it makes it almost impossible for a judge in Michigan now to buy the oops, I missed the mail and had COVID story for this failure to appear in 2025, doesn't it?
It makes it extremely challenging.
Yeah.
That history becomes what lawyers call an aggravating factor. It works against him, suggesting a pattern rather than an isolated mistake.
Okay, so he's arrested in San Diego. What happens next, procedurally? He had that arraignment in California on October 15th. Was that the main event?
Not really. That California hearing is mostly just housekeeping. Verify his identity, officially tell him about the Michigan felony charge he's being held on, make sure he understands his rights.
So the real process is about getting him back to Michigan.
Exactly. It's all governed by something called the Uniform Criminal Extradition Act, the UCEA. It's basically the rulebook states use to hand fugitives over to each other. Doesn't matter if you're famous or not.
And his options are limited then?
Pretty much. He can either waive extradition, meaning he agrees to go back to Michigan voluntarily, or he can try to fight it.
Can he win fighting it?
It's really rare. Like, unless they arrested the wrong guy entirely or there was some huge procedural screw-up, it's almost always unsuccessful. The vast majority waive extradition.
So the bottom line is he's almost certainly heading back to Oakland County, Michigan to face that felony charge. California's job is basically just to hold him until Michigan picks him up.
That's right. California can't prosecute the Michigan charge. They just facilitate the transfer.
This whole thing really does show how just not showing up for court repeatedly can snowball. It took a big civil debt and turned it into a nationwide criminal issue with federal agents involved.
It's a powerful example of that, yeah. So back in Michigan, he's facing the felony failure to appear charge. That could mean jail time, hefty fines, plus, having a felony conviction on his record.
Is a plea deal likely?
It's definitely possible. Maybe they agree to reduce the felony charge, maybe even drop it to a misdemeanor if he makes a really significant payment on those $52,000 plus arrears immediately.
But that history we talked about,
Yeah.
that's going to complicate negotiations, really.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
The prosecutor and the judge will weigh that history heavily. It's not his first time at this rodeo, legally speaking. It makes it harder to argue for leniency.
Okay, so here's the final point we wanted to leave you with. It kind of brings it all back to the beginning. Whatever happens with this criminal felony charge, jail, plea deal, whatever.
Right.
The original civil problem doesn't just disappear. That 3,366 stuck seconds a month in child support, that obligation is still there. It continues.
Exactly. And that's maybe the most important takeaway here.
Yeah.
This case is just a really stark reminder of what can happen cumulatively when court orders, especially family court orders meant to support kids, are ignored again and again.
The system has mechanisms to enforce these things, and eventually they tend to catch up.
They do, and when they do, especially after such a long history, the consequences can be pretty severe and life-changing.
You've been listening to Starscope Report, where Jordan and Jamie uncover the stories shaping Hollywood, music, and pop culture.
Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that keep the stars shining.